All right, welcome back to another episode of Steeler Thoughts and Chief Feelings. We are still here. This is episode 37, which is,
Well, I could say it. It's the Joe Delaney episode, which is those of you who don't know, Joe Delaney is a former chief who I actually when I was in so when we were in middle school, do you remember there was a period of time where for the assembly they would like rotate and have one of us read something? Uh, like we had to like bring something and they would
yeah,
like identify a student and you had to read. I actually read a Rick Riley article about Joe Delaney. That was the thing I read. um,
yeah.
he's a former chief who was a great running back for a couple years in the NFL, and then during the offseason after his second season, though he didn't know how to swim, he tried to save a drowning boy and ended up passing away. But he's a Chiefs legend and he wore number 37. uh, so he's someone that the Chiefs always try to remember because of what a great guy apparently he was. That's what the Rick Riley article talked about, how like apparently he was just like a really good person in general.
Like this act was not out of the ordinary for him.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, I'd forgotten that I did that until just now. But yeah, I read that he had written like, the back of Sports Illustrated, Rick Riley used to have a column.
Mm, yeah,
He had done one about Joe Delaney, and the kind of tenor of the column was like, when you hear all this bad things about athletes and all the things he's done, remember they're athletes like Joe Delaney too. So
mm,
good man to remember.
yeah. This episode is, I guess, dedicated then to Joe Delaney, number 37. Um, by the way, I didn't introduce myself. I'm Chris. I'm the Steelers fan and the philosophy professor here.
And I'm Ajay. I am the Chiefs fan and the psychiatrist here. And true to form, I'm not prepared with a comment of the week. But we
Well,
thank
I'll write
all
a
of you
little
that
bit.
follow along.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for all the, yeah, I think the people following are just growing or in number, which is, I guess, awesome. But well, it is definitely awesome. It's also like surprising, but we are flattered. So thanks for all your engagement and for following along. And we're still here, still alive in terms of the Chiefs at least, which is the exciting news. So we have plenty to talk about today.
And I've got our comment of the week. I'm going to pull from at Retro Projections, who commented on the portion that we talked about. We had released a clip about us talking about how the Chiefs Texans officiating discourse is ridiculous and disingenuous, and Retro Projections quoted a portion of it saying, in quotes, very clear in the NFL rule book, and then ended the quotes and said, "You and I both know these people," and then in all caps, "can't read." So that's our comment of the week.
Uh, I don't know if we do know that, but okay. um, maybe, yeah, yeah, fair. Okay.
I should actually add in not to my favorite phrase anybody used when discussing this clip, this rant, at boat underscore ahead. The first sentence of their comment was "Go off, King," and I don't know if anyone's ever said that to me, so
Yeah,
I thought
that's
that was amazing.
go off. Yeah, that's nice. I think that seems to be encouraging. I don't know. I learn very limited snippets of like the lingo nowadays, but I think that's good, right? Like go off king is praise. Um, Occasionally there's something I was like I have no idea. Like is that good or bad or is that maybe it's nothing, but and then I'll try to use it like in front of my students and it will typically not go well. So
Isn't it I find it really irritating how quickly and how easy it is to just be like out of the zeitgeist as far as like have no understanding of how people
yeah,
talk anymore. I
yeah,
I never thought of I was always just like, well, people must not pay any attention or anything, but I feel like I'm like a normal person living my life and I have no idea what
no,
a lot of things mean and are anymore.
yeah, it really does. There's a it. if you're, I mean, I don't even know how to like stay up on. I guess you have to be constantly looking up, like what are the new terms in use
Or
amongst.
to like work at a high school.
Yeah, I think that's where a lot of this happens. High school and middle school, maybe. That's an interesting question. Like, why does it happen there more? But I guess there's a well, I don't know. I would just be speculating at this point. But that surely people have done this kind of research. Anyway, that's not our topic today. But yeah, so there were two games. I think maybe what do you want to do here? Do you want to briefly talk about Eagles Commanders? I mean, I don't think I have a ton to say about that, but I think obviously the focus here is going to be Chiefs Bills.
Yeah,
And
that's
then
fine. Yeah, we can start with the Eagles Commanders. What was
um,
even, I know the Eagles put up, what was it, 55-23. Okay,
yeah,
55 to 23, the Eagles beat the Commanders.
yeah. I mean, I don't think either of us followed it super closely, but we were just talking ahead of time about how you know, to the extent that we were paying attention, which, we were paying some attention, uh, it didn't feel like it was like that dominant of a performance, right? There were some crucial turnovers that the Commanders had that really flipped or, led to that score differential, I think. But and then you get to a desperation time in the end, and you're just like forcing things, and so that like one of the turnovers I think was an end zone pick when you're just trying to make something happen at the end there. So it didn't feel like it was that dominant. I mean, the Eagles were the better team, I think, unquestionably, but turnovers played a really big role, I think, in that outcome. And I guess that can like be helpful in terms of like diagnosing what how scared or worried or what are your concerns about the Eagles coming up in 2 weeks here. But maybe that's something we should do next week when we do a kind of Super Bowl preview.
Yeah, I think, I feel like the game actually matched up pretty well with our conceptions of the two teams going forward. Like we thought that Washington was dangerous and we thought that Philadelphia was too talented for them.
Mhm.
And I feel like I don't remember what your score prediction was. I know I went back and forth, but I think I ended at 30 to 17,
Yeah.
which was probably a little low scoring, but I feel like that's the kind of game it was. So like it was a game where Philadelphia was better, but not that much better. But then Washington lost three fumbles, and it just made, that it was too much. And I think impressively from the Washington perspective, they kind of manage things even after losing the first two. We get to the third quarter and they came down with a touchdown drive to make it 34 to 23. And I
Mhm.
think it just ended up being, a little too much getting to the end there. So yeah, I feel
Yeah.
like, Philly was better. They probably, I mean, certainly weren't 32 points better, but they were, they felt like they were about two possessions better, which I think is
Mhm.
what we kind of thought going in.
Yeah, I think you, if I remember right, my score was closer, but I don't know exactly how close it was. Um, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think, Jaden Daniels was still pretty good in this, aside from some desperation time stuff and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, like just, watching it, it didn't feel like it did not feel like watching, say, the Steelers Eagles game, which also honestly didn't feel like it was as, yeah, as we talked about, didn't feel like it was as much of a domination as the stats looked. But we could not stop them at the end there. And so, the Commanders were game for this one. They were in it.
I might
Maybe
even
less.
argue, if I were to be so bold, that I think Jaden Daniels was better than Jalen Hurts in this game.
Hmm, that that is bold. I don't know if I have enough. I don't know if I can judge that. I mean, I think they were comparable, definitely. Um,
Yeah, I don't know that I certainly would not say that Jalen Hurts was bad by any stretch, but Jaden Daniels, had more to do with less, I feel like, and had to make some very high leverage plays and I mean, he did enough, like even for Washington to, and I know it was like a catch and run play when Terry McLaurin scored his touchdown, But even at that point, I was impressed. Like this game could have easily kind of run away with what from Washington. Their first drive was like a slog. They converted
Yeah.
multiple fourth downs. They come down and get a field goal. Then the Eagles score on one play.
Yeah.
Then the Washington fumbles it away. Then the Eagles come down and score again. And then there's another slog drive to get a field goal. Like at that point, you're seeing like, okay, like Jaden Daniels is just working up against so much more than the
Mm.
Eagles are right now. And he just continued to get through that. And then when the Eagles missed their field goal, for him to come down and score a touchdown, it was suddenly like, man, like this guy is like I from the first two drives for either each team, it really felt like the Eagles are so clearly a so much better team. And the fact that he just kind of hung in there for as long as he did, I think was really admirable for a rookie in his first NFC championship
Oh
game.
yeah, right. Yeah, I think that's right. And you have to be really, I mean, obviously very optimistic if you're a Commanders fan, um, about what he's going to be in the future. I think like he clearly has uh, it, as we might say. Right. He's calm under pressure, and resilient, and I think he's the kind of person that can lift the play of a bunch of people around him too. So yeah, a lot to look forward to, I guess, if you're a Commanders fan, which I don't know that I know any Commanders fans uh, personally. I mean, I know they exist, but
We knew one in CIS. He was a grade ahead of us for a couple of years. I'll have to tell you who he was off
yeah,
off the podcast. But he
yeah.
was a Washington football team fan back then. Uh, and then I did go to college with someone who was from the DC area. Who was
Okay. Yeah.
yeah, they exist.
Yeah. I mean, I have heard of them. Yeah, and I have heard them actually. They've made noise before. Um, but anyway, yeah. So that's cool. But I don't know. Do we need to say more about that game? I think that we should get to the main attraction here.
Wait, I'm going to digress a little bit because you talked about hearing them, and that reminded me. Since we don't have a ton to preview today, I figure we have time for a little digression. But I was listening to Chuck Klosterman, the ethicist for the Rolling Stone. I don't know if he still works for them anymore. He's an author essentially, but he also used to work as the ethicist for the Rolling Stone. And he was on Bill Simmons' podcast, and he was talking about football as a product today. And the way that he framed it, I thought was so interesting. He basically was talking about how football has increasingly become a product that is made for television to the point that he would argue that the only point of going to the stadium now in 2025 or 2024 when he said it is the crowd. The only point of them is to provide ambient noise for the TV viewing experience. So I'm curious if you think that's too strong of a take or
They should be paying the fans to get the noise in the
to get the
stadium.
noise.
Uh,
Because he basically said in every measurable way, watching at home is better than watching it this in the stadium.
but is the claim that that's different than how it used to be? I mean, I guess TVs used to be crappier. Is that the point?
Right. They've like optimized the experience. The like replay analyst is there. You get all the replays. You get the rules understanding. Like none of that happens in the stadium. Like you
Hmm.
basically sometimes you don't even get an explanation for what happens. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
You get injury updates better and all these things when you're
yeah.
at home. That's
Like it's been just slowly and consistently optimizing the TV viewing experience to the point that it's so much better than watching it in the stadium, was his argument.
I don't know. I can see it for, but there's something, you're also missing something by not going in person. Like I remember when as an analogy, my family went to what are the big caves in Kentucky? Something caverns. There's some big caves in Kentucky that we went there, and there was like a gift shop. And before we actually got a tour of the caves, we were looking through the gift shop, and I found a DVD of the caves. I was like, hey, we could just watch this. We don't have to actually go in. Uh, and at the time, like I really thought that, but thinking back on that, like no, that you're not getting nearly the same experience. It's all visual, and there's way more to it when you're actually there. Like I remember at one point we were in there, and they like turned off all the lights, and it was like as dark as you could imagine it being, right? Because you're way underground, and there's like no lights getting in. Like that kind of experience, you can't get that on, your TVs can go black or something. But you miss out on certain sensory aspects of the experience of being when you're of being in person, when you're just watching on TV. How valuable are those? Like, I don't know. I don't know. Like a lot of the times, your experience of being there in person can be, if you just analyze the experience itself and like cleaved it off from everything you think about it or feel about it and remember about it, like not that fun, right? Like I went to Ben Roethlisberger's last regular season game before the Chiefs destroyed him in the playoffs a couple years ago in Baltimore, and it was like cold and wet, like kind of drizzly the whole time, and it was like in the I wore a mask because it was like still like pandemic era, so it was like this mask was like wet and damp and my face was cold. It's just like it wasn't objectively maybe that fun, but it's still a very good memory for me. So you might think it's like a different type of fun, right? I don't know. That would be my take on it. Like it'll provide better memories to go in person. What do you think?
That's funny. That was the game that I was supposed to attend with you, and then
Oh
I
yeah,
booked a cheap bus that just canceled on me randomly, and they
forgot
tried to
about
reschedule me to a time when I would like come in during the third quarter or something to Baltimore from New York, and I was like, "Well, I'm not doing
Yeah,
that."
it was super last minute. It's like, hey, I got a ticket. You want to come? Like, yeah,
Yeah, so I was supposed to bus down from New York to Baltimore, and the bus canceled on me. Um, no, I actually I agree with you. I don't. I mean, I'll put it this way. I agree with the point that you are not going to a game for the viewing experience. And the reason why that's important to me is because I get really annoyed when people go to football games and then get mad at people in front of them for standing up. Because it's like, you're not here to like sit and be comfortable and have a viewing experience. That's what you do at home.
hmm
Like you go to the game for the atmosphere. And like I still think there's value in that. I'd still much rather be in a stadium when the Chiefs win the AFC championship than watch it on TV, like that kind
yeah,
of thing.
yeah,
Because the atmosphere and you're like high-fiving people you don't even know and stuff like that. Like it's just a whole like mass of people that are all pushing in the same direction and then they get what they want is a really cool experience. So
mm,
I think that's what you go for. But I'm definitely team you can stand up whenever you want at a sporting event and you shouldn't be complaining about people standing up because go home and watch on your TV. If you want to see everything crystal clear, we have a perfect way for you to do that. If
yeah,
you want to be in the atmosphere with the people that care about the game, then go to the game.
yeah. So it's more of a right. You're there for the atmosphere, for the smells and the sounds and whatnot that you would not have on the TV. Oh, my dog's snoring over here. I don't know if you can hear. Um, yeah. Like think of it this way. Like, would you rather see your team win the Super Bowl in person or on television? Like, I think
I'd
most
rather in
people would
person for
answer
sure.
in
Yeah,
person, right?
yeah.
I mean, maybe. I don't know. I mean, maybe not, but I think so.
Oh, I certainly would. I mean, there aren't that many like big Chiefs games that I could have gone to and didn't go to, except the one would be the 2019 AFC title game when we beat Tennessee. I was off that day and resident, like I could have gone for that one, and I decided not to. I had just seen them lose to Tennessee in the playoff 2 years ago, and I know Sonu wanted to go with me, but I decided not to go to that one. In hindsight, that would have been like a cool experience to be in the stadium. I don't really regret not going, but that would have been like the like moment.
Yeah.
But otherwise, like I don't know that I've had a ton of like I couldn't go during like the COVID year. Then I haven't been in Kansas City like in a place to go. And I mean, going to the Super Bowl is just prohibitive. I actually really, the one year I really considered, um, I considered like booking a hotel and everything for the Super Bowl like 8 months in advance. And that was the year we didn't make it to the Super Bowl. The only year in the last 6 years, that was the year the Bengals we lost to the Bengals in the AFC title game. That was the year I was going to book a hotel in LA and everything and be like,
That
you
would
know
have
what, I'm
been
just going to,
that would have been kind of miserable. Yeah.
yeah, that would have been terrible. So, but it's too, like, going to the Super Bowl is too expensive. Like, it's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, you won't want to pay for it. I don't. I mean, not what they're charging for it, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not worth it. Like, it's still like, it's fun, but it's not like, $15,000 vacation fun,
Yeah.
like it's not that fun to go to the Super Bowl, I don't think.
No, no, I don't think so. I mean, especially when it can go badly or something, right? Like that's a gamble,
Right.
right? But here's maybe like, is this right? It feels to me like when you see the game in person, it basically just augments the emotional experience, right? Like
Yeah.
whether it's good or bad, it is more
Oh,
that if you see it in
oh
person.
yeah.
Yeah. Uh,
I've been to some bad losses.
yeah,
I
I
can
know. I
tell
was
you
thinking of
that.
the Steelers Chiefs game we went to in 2011. I was thinking that might have been one I would have seen on TV instead, right? Like
Yeah.
neither of us had a really good time at that point, but it was a good. It's a good memory. So
Yeah, I'm still glad we went. It's just that I think it helped though that like neither of us had like a ton riding on that game, so the fact that it stunk like didn't really matter.
yeah,
Like, it's worse if it's like you go to a playoff game or like a really like you really want to win the game and it goes badly. And I will say because of the atmosphere argument, I would say that like I'm less inclined now to go to road games. Maybe it's because like I went to Baltimore and we lost, and then you have to just like walk out of the stadium with all these Ravens fans. like, like
yeah, yeah,
it's not as fun to be cheering when like you're the only person cheering.
yeah. That's true. I mean, I've seen a couple games in Baltimore, Steelers games in Baltimore, and I don't know. I mean, it is fun when there's enough of a contingent there that is like, hey,
Yeah.
like we're like, we're not the majority here, but we're having a good time at their expense. That could be good.
Yeah, I feel like I would enjoy being at a road stadium if I was around like-minded fans.
Yeah.
But it's really something when you're like surrounded by people rooting against you and something bad happens and you just like hear them all cheering around you and you're just like, shut up. Like, I'm trying to pay attention to the next play.
Yeah. Good. Okay. Um, well, anything else we should, I mean, this has resolved itself probably, right? I can't figure out where else to take this. So maybe we should turn finally to the main um, item of business.
Wait, let me ask you, as an impartial, or at least as impartial as you are about Chiefs Bills games, how would you rank this one among the other Chiefs Bills playoff games? There have been four now.
Oh man,
Where
I don't
does
know if
this
I have all
one rank?
four are ready to mind.
So
Let's
there was
see.
the first one was the AFC title game after the 2020 season. I honestly don't remember the score, but it was a decisive victory.
Yeah.
It was not.
Yeah, I don't remember that one like at all. I remember
I
that they
remember
played.
it was 38 to 24 Chiefs. And it was, I remember it like us getting up pretty big in the, yeah, so we went up 38 to 15 with 7:36 to go in the fourth quarter on a touchdown pass to Travis Kelce. So it was pretty decisive.
Yeah. You have the 13 seconds game.
Yeah, there's a 13 seconds game. Then there was last year when we beat them 27-24 in Buffalo.
Yeah.
And then this year.
I think this might be number two behind the 13 seconds game for me. This was just objectively very exciting, and it felt like a heavyweight fight. Like there were more times when I felt like the Chiefs were, having their way, but there were times when I felt like the Bills were having their way and they could pull away too. So both teams felt like they could win it at different points. And that makes for a really compelling viewing experience, I think. So yeah, I would say this was probably number two. But what, as a Chiefs fan, where would you rank it?
Um, so it's interesting because I've only recently grown to appreciate the 13 seconds game because for a long time it was colored by the pain of losing to the Bengals in the next round. So But I feel like, once you win a couple more Super Bowls, that pain goes away a little bit. You're like, yeah, that's okay. Like, I can appreciate this game for what it was.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I mean, that one has to be the best one just because it was, I mean, and what was weird was we had two games like that was the second game like that year. The other one was we had a Thursday night game in LA. And both of those games, as we were going through it, it was kind of like we were just hanging on. It just felt like we were hanging on, and then somehow we got into a position to win the game. And it was almost like you step back and you're just like, how did we just do that? Like how did that happen? Because what's weird is like of all the plays in that game, the 13 seconds game, the one that really is my favorite play was the like 63-yard touchdown at Tyreek Hill. Like that play was just electric. Like I even though it wasn't like, the game time field goal or the game winning touchdown, which would be my second favorite. That was an awesome moment too. But I don't know, there's just something about like Tyreek Hill catching like a 17-yard in cut and like as he's catching it, you're like, you might score. Like it's just like there's just nobody like him. Like I know Xavier Worthy's really fast and I feel like he's going to do amazing things. But like Tyreek Hill was like when he caught the ball and was going full speed, you were like, man, this might be
Yeah.
it. Like
Yeah.
he was giving the peace sign to Matt Milano, and he was still farther away from the end zone than
Yeah, I remember
Matt
that. Yeah.
Milano.
Yeah.
That was nuts.
That's got to be unusual because a lot of the times, even on those long touchdowns, you don't know until very close to the end zone that it's actually going to be a touchdown. And here you're like, this is probably a touchdown. It's like,
Like once he started going, like you and they were like when he caught the ball, they were what three, four defenders like between him and the end zone. But the thing is, in real time, it just seems impossible to accurately gauge an angle. Like players like instinctively run the way you would run against someone normally, and he just eliminates your angle and goes right by you. Like it's that play. I just like rewatching every once in a while because it's just bonkers. Like so I just remember how electric that moment was because it was already like very tense. They had taken the lead, and then it just felt like they were a little better than us on that day. And we had already lost to them that year, which was the first time we had lost to Buffalo. We had just beaten them in the regular season and the playoffs the year before. So then the next one was the first time we ever lost to Buffalo, and it was a rough year. They were leading in the fourth quarter. It was like, man, do we have it again? And then Tyreek Hill catches that pass, and it was ridiculous. Um, but yeah,
yeah.
that will be number one for me. It's hard because like I like the non-exciting ones too, because I love that we just like met him in the AFC title game and beat him 38-24. Like, especially because they were up like I think 9-0 or something to start that game, and
Mhm.
then we just completely like took control. And there were moments in this one that I kind of thought that might happen. Like, we went up 21-10, and I felt like if we could keep them out of the end zone at least,
Mhm.
and we were going to get the ball to start the third quarter, and we were moving the ball really well for most of the game. Like this, actually, they said by drop back success rate, this is the best performance of Mahomes' career. Um, he was
Jeez.
really exceptional in this game, but oh man, it's hard. I guess I'd put this at number two just because like the more that we have, the more satisfying they are becoming. But man, going to Buffalo and winning that one was really satisfying too. I don't know that it's hard for me to accurately characterize them, except for saying that I feel like the 13 seconds game has to be the best one just because of like the legacy that it has
Yeah.
taken on now.
I mean, that's got to be one of the best games in the NFL period over the last decade or more.
Yeah.
Um, but this one was, yeah, this was just super entertaining, I have to say. Um, and I have to say, also, I liked the fact that it wasn't like, the Chiefs just felt in control the whole time. Like there was a stretch like mid to early-ish fourth quarter. When was it? They were up 22-21. Is that what they were up?
Yeah, 22-21. Yeah.
And they were
And they
driving
had the
too.
ball. Yeah.
Yeah, like it felt like this could go there. I mean, like, and James
Oh
Cook
yeah.
was like getting ready to take over the game. It felt like if things had gone slightly differently, that would probably be the story here.
Yeah.
He was really impressive in that.
Well, and I hate to get like nitpicky on things, but I will just say that there has never been a case in Patrick Mahomes' career when they took control of a game because they started handing the ball off to the running back more. I'm just saying, that's not how the games go in Kansas City when we take
Yeah.
control. I will say though, James Cook is like, I mean, I don't know if he's just playing really well against us, but I feel like he's one of the with a bullet like top 3 or 4 running backs in the league. Like he's very good.
Yeah.
And the area where he kills us is the Chiefs are usually so good at setting the edge and their defensive backs come down and tackle. And he is very good at beating us to that edge and breaking tackles of like our defensive backs in ways that, I mean, I hadn't seen a running back get around the edge like he did against us. I can't even think of an instance this year. I'm sure it's happened. And he did it like 4 or 5 times, it felt like.
Mhm.
Like he was really, really good.
Yeah. I mean, on the was it 2 of his touchdown runs he got to the edge? I remember one of them getting outside on the left, and the other one arguably he didn't quite get outside, but he extended as he was getting tackled and got there. So
That I feel like play was emblematic of how the game was going. Like it was one of those plays where it was just like you put everybody in that position, like 95 times out of 100, he's not scoring. And that was one of those 5. And part of it was just an insane individual effort from him. Like the body control, the presence of mind, like that was incredible. And also it was just like that the feeling I was having is during that game was just like how many things are going those little things on the margin. The Bills were just doing a little bit more every time. The one exception being the Xavier Worthy, that contested jump ball he caught in the red zone. Otherwise, like all of those like 50-50, like could these plays usually go either way, like a ball being on the ground 5 times and the Bills recovering all 5 of them, or Josh Allen throwing it to our defensive backs at least like twice and not being able to come up with a
twice in the
catch.
first 2 plays. I mean,
Oh my God.
yeah.
And then there were a couple others where he was just throwing balls up there, and you know, it was not that he didn't make great plays, but it just felt like all the plays that were kind of on the margin were falling the Bills' way during that game. And there was a time when I was just like, you know, maybe this is just their year, you know, like if we don't get a play to go our way, it's going to be really hard to win this one.
Yeah. Um, yeah, but maybe we should.
Oh, we got to take a break, don't we?
Oh, we do have to take a break. You're right. Okay, well, we'll be back after our break.
And we're back. I I'm trying to remember exactly what I was saying last time, like before we went to break. But I think I was talking about how we were on a razor's edge, and all those marginal plays seemed to be going toward the Bills, which was
Yeah.
frustrating.
Should we? I mean, we probably should, whether we really want to, discuss some of those plays.
Sure.
I mean, right. So there were a number of fumbles and passes by Josh Allen early in the game that looked like those could have been turnovers. Those could have been crucial. And yeah, they recovered all of those fumbles, and the passes were not picked off, even though they were like in the hands of Chiefs defenders. One was in the hands of 2 defenders, I think. I can't remember.
Yeah, it went through Nazi Johnson's hands, and then Brian Cook got his hands on it too,
You
and
know.
neither of them caught it.
Yeah. Um, but it was like I laughed aloud at the like as a way to start the game for the Bills. That was just like hilarious. It's like,
I was so tense to start the game that like when the first one was a throw to Keon Coleman, I think. Or no, it was Mac Hollins, I think, coming across the middle, and he overthrew it, and Brian Cook tried to catch it like this. Like I think he just saw the ball late because the ball was coming
yeah,
right, and he tried to catch it like this. And when he dropped it, like you know, when you're like so amped up, you don't know what to do. And I literally just like hit myself in the head with both hands really hard. And I was like, why did I just do that? like I was like, it made an audible sound, me like hitting myself in the forehead. I was so frustrated. And then the next play, like we dropped another one, and I was just, I mean, that one was a little more bittersweet because they were also punting. because that was third down. So it was
Yeah.
like, okay, we dropped it, but at least they're punting. Like we got the ball away from the Bills. But oh boy, that was rough.
Yeah, that was a funny way to say. I mean, Bills fans must have been just like, "What are we doing here?" Right? Like, I've felt that before at the beginning of a game. Yeah, but let's see what other. I'm trying to go roughly in order here. So there are a couple fumbles that they recovered. That's my dog snores again. Um, and then there was a exchange between Mahomes and was it which running back was it?
Pacheco. It was
Pacheco.
Pacheco.
That was fumbled, and that one, of course, bounced to the Bills. Was that the next? Was that the next one? Or how am I skipping?
No, yeah, that's correct. So basically, like they had the two near picks and then punted. We came down and scored a touchdown. Then on their field goal drive after that, Josh Allen like dropped the ball. Like this was him like just dropping a snap.
Okay, yeah.
And he also got stripped, but I think that was on a later drive. So don't
There
worry
was one
about
where he
that.
was diving over and coming. That was
That was
late.
later in the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the first fumble was him just dropping the snap, and he got that one. And then we came down, and Mahomes actually had a fumble earlier, but that one was like I don't count that. I don't. It annoys me when people do because it was an offside. Like Ed Oliver was so clearly offsides, and that's why he created the pressure that then led to Mahomes fumbling the ball because he got hit by. I mean, I don't think it was Ed Oliver's guy that hit Mahomes, but that play got blown up by Ed Oliver's immediate pressure because he was offsides. So I remember, like, as that play was going and everyone was going for the ball, I was just like, "This isn't going to count. This isn't going to count." Like, everybody calm down.
Yeah.
So, and then a couple plays later, they fumbled on the mesh point, and it just feels like for whatever reason we're good for one of those dumb. Because in the 2022 AFC title game, I remember we were like in control. I want to say I'm trying to remember what the score was. I know we had an opportunity to go up two possessions, I think. And we were driving, and Mahomes on his sprained ankle is trying to throw like a quick screen to Kadarius Toney, and the ball just slipped out of his hand, and he fumbled it backwards. And Sam Hubbard or T.J. Hendrickson or whoever it was recovered it. And I remember being like, why do we have to do this once in every crucial game? We have to do one thing like this, and this was our one in the Bills game. It looked like Mahomes was trying to pull it, but the ball kind of caught on Pacheco's glove as he was like letting it come back to Mahomes, and so then Mahomes may have thought he was keeping it. And at one point, it really looked like they both thought the other person was holding onto the ball. And but my conception of it is, I think Mahomes was trying to pull it, and it got caught on Pacheco's glove as he was trying to release it, like let it go, and the ball ended up in Ed Oliver's hands. So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I thought Mahomes was trying to keep it at least live and even on the replay, but yeah, so that was that one. Um, was the next one, the next sort of 50-50 play you were talking about, was that
so
the pass that
well,
was
the next one I think after this Mahomes fumble was the Mike Dana strip sack Josh Allen, and somehow Allen like got the ball with one
Oh
hand.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah. Oh
I
my,
can't
yeah.
like I
I've
was
like never
so
seen someone
mad.
recover a fumble that way. It was just
Like
like
I was
like
so I was like, how does like at this point I was just like we're only at this point three fumbles in, and the Bills have recovered all of them, including ours. I was losing, and this was like in the red zone too, and they ended up scoring a touchdown on this drive. Like, oh, it was so annoying.
yeah, but to like people don't recover. Like you know how much trouble people sometimes have recovering fumbles, and he
Yeah,
just did that with one hand while being like I think he was being
taken
tackled,
down. Yeah,
right? Yeah,
I
that
mean,
was
I'm not discounting how incredible a play it was by him. But and if this was the only play that happened like this, I would have just been like, "Man, that guy's awesome." But it's just like you fumbled three times in this game, and somehow you got all of them.
yep.
How?
Yeah, that was. I mean, that was another one where I laughed. But it's like the a couple plays early on for the Bills, first half. I was just like, yeah, it's weird,
If you want to
weird to miss.
contrast Josh Allen getting strip sacked and then like recovering it with one hand on the ground as he's going down with Russell Wilson spinning and putting the ball on the ground and losing it.
Yeah,
That-
that's what we're used to. That's like that's surely not gonna. Yeah, we're not gonna recover. Um, yeah. Okay, so that was the next one.
The one after that might have been the worthy 50-50 play, I
Yeah.
think.
So what's your take on this? Because I had a take that like live that then I thought back on. I thought no, I think that was wrong. So I would be curious to know what your opinion is of that play.
I mean, I certainly, just to start, don't think there's any chance that that was an interception. I feel like you either got to go with completed pass to worthy or incomplete.
Mhm.
And I'm actually so the real question to me is what I would have thought about the replay if they had initially called it incomplete. Because I don't know that I don't think you could overturn it. To me, I feel like it kind of depends on how you interpret the rule because can the ball be possessed when because the way that I interpret it, in which I'm saying it's a catch, which obviously I would interpret it this way, is that simultaneous possession is possession for the offense. So they controlled the ball, the two of them,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And when the ball hit the ground, it did not move.
Right.
They
The
both
ball was
continued to
controlled.
control it.
Right.
Yeah. And when they control it together, it's the offense's ball. And
Yeah.
so, from that standpoint, I feel like that was interpreted correctly. Like that was a
Yeah.
catch.
That was my considered opinion on this. My initial opinion was like that's got to be incomplete because it was not possessed by either player before hitting the ground like that. So it wasn't controlled by either player. But I think you're exactly right that the ball was controlled. Now, and then how do you determine who controlled it? Well, it's a matter of, in a tie, it goes to the offense. So I think it was a tie and it was controlled, so it goes to the offense. I think that was the right call. But it was a cool it was a cool play because it is again one of these plays where it's like, yeah, the rules don't the way they're written doesn't quite decide that.
Yeah.
You could argue either way there. So
And what would they have argued if the ball had been called incomplete? Because I think it's very easy to look at that play. I think I would imagine from an unbiased perspective, one could call me biased in this case, but I would think it's easy to look at that play and be like, it's really hard to overturn anything from that play. I think you could fairly clearly overturn an interception because I don't know that there's ever a time where you feel like the defender and solely the defender, or even the defender has majority possession of that ball. Like Worthy got it first and he had it through the process. Like when they came out of it, Worthy still had it, like it's hard.
yeah,
Like I feel like but if it were incomplete, I don't know. Like I would still use this argument, but I wouldn't feel like the refs made a bad call if they were like, we couldn't overturn this.
yeah, yeah. I think it's right. I think initially I was like, that's definitely the wrong call, but I can now see. I mean, I don't know exactly what they thought to themselves as they reviewed it. Like, wow, this is a weird situation. But yeah, I mean, I can see why they would not overturn that call. And I think that's the right call. I think not just like I think the right call. Period, whether it was reviewed or not, is that it was a completed pass. But yeah, that was a fun one. Um,
And honestly, more interesting to me about that was that Worthy went up and got that because this is the second game in a row where he has had a tough, like, I mean, this was as contested as a catch can get. The one before was more like in traffic, but he was not making these plays early in the season to the point where I was just assuming this wasn't his game. And so to see him doing that was like, oh, I mean, that's the kind of play I expected DeAndre Hopkins to make, not Xavier Worthy. So that's very encouraging.
yeah, I mean, I think he was right. I mean, it felt to me like he was the main receiver weapon in this game, right? Like he was easily your most dangerous receiver here, which is really exciting for a first year player in the AFC Championship. But
Yeah.
um, what other 50-50? So that was the 50-50 one that went your way. Um,
Then I feel like the James Cook touchdown would be
yeah,
the next one probably.
yeah,
And that was just ridiculous. I mean, I couldn't believe it. Like I thought when Justin Reed hit him and then Bolton was coming over the top, I was like, we've got him. We got. And then he stretched that ball out and in real time when you're like, please, like I hope his knee hit the ground. Like it
Yeah.
didn't look like it, but like I really hope, like I need to see a replay. I hope. And I could tell like in real time, like Josh Allen was not confident.
Oh yeah, he had to
He
watch the
was
replay.
not.
He
He
showed.
watched the replay and then he knew, but like because he didn't have a very good view. But like James Cook knew he scored. Like that was the most worrying thing. He was not questioning it whatsoever. He knew. Uh,
Yeah, yeah. Uh, the slightly interesting thing, so when his hand's on the ground and he's reaching, like like how much of the wrist could have been on the ground before he's down? Like that's kind of vague, right?
yeah. I
Um,
don't know. I feel like you've got to kind of call it such that because at some point, just like physics wise, if your wrist is down, it's going to be hard for you to keep your whole palm planted.
mm,
So I feel like if you can retain the plant, where that's got to be okay, right?
yeah,
If your fingers start coming up, then I feel like you've got too much wrist.
yeah, yeah. That's I don't know. There's like this that makes sense to me. I guess there's a borderline case there though, where it's like not clear whether he's down or not. But anyway, yeah. That I mean, that was one of the plays that I was thinking. Like he does remind me. I think I texted you this. He reminds me of Le'Veon Bell, but significantly faster, right? Like he has the vision. He can do the sort of like swim through the line, but he also just has the speed to get outside and to find lanes that other people wouldn't find. I don't know. He is yeah. He's got to be one of the top couple, two or three backs in the league.
He's definitely, I mean, the only backs that I dislike would not want to face as much as him are like Derrick Henry and Saquon Barkley. And
Yeah.
is that it? Like, I don't know that there's another running back that I'm as like I hate playing against James Cook. And what's funny is like he's one of those players that like like I don't know that I ever felt the need to like Derrick Henry. I don't dislike him, but like I actually like James Cook. It's weird to like really like someone who's on a rival. But I'm
Yeah.
like I like that guy. I don't know why. There's something about him stylistically and the fact that he's like unheralded. Like I just really like him. I like him more than I like Josh Allen, and it's just like but I he's so frustrating to play against. Like he always finds a way.
Yeah. Yeah, I do like him too. He's just fun to watch. He's one of those people that like you can't like if you're honest with yourself, you really can't dislike watching them, right? They're just fun to watch. So, um, like Lamar Jackson's another one of those players. But
I find it easier to dislike him.
I don't know. I don't know. I
No,
feel like
I don't dislike him either. I just don't root for him. Not that I root for James Cook either. I don't know. I just feel like I'm so like annoyed with people trying to say another quarterback's better than Mahomes. It's hard for me to think very positively about
I
another
see.
quarterback.
Um, yeah.
And then so the next Bills drive, there were three 50-50 plays. First, the Davis fumbled on a 2nd and 1, and again, like he's upright,
Remember
and
that
the
play?
he was running to the left. It was a handoff to the left, and Shamari Connor stripped it, and the ball literally hits the ground while he's still upright, and somehow he manages to fall down on it.
Mhm.
Um, and then 2 plays after that is when Josh Allen dove over the pile and he fumbled. So there were 2 times in 3 plays the Bills fumbled and recovered their own fumbles. Like I just couldn't. I don't know. It was and in hindsight, I feel like what was happening was it was just like we were creating enough of these plays where it was like at some point, like the Bills were matching us because they were making these clutch plays, these like absolutely 50-50 gotta have it, and they were getting them all except the worthy catch. And I think at some point that caught up to them, and then after the Josh Allen fumble, we finally had a couple go our way. Uh,
Yeah. So it was the next one.
the quarterback sneak,
Yeah, the sneak. There were a couple of sneaks there that he didn't get, right? There was also a
right?
2 point sneak, maybe, when they put it
There's
at
a
the
two
one
point
after a
sneak.
penalty.
Yeah, there was a 3rd down sneak that failed also. I think on this drive, right? So before his like dive over the top, he had done a third down sneak that he failed, and that's why he had to do the dive over the top
Okay.
that he converted and fumbled. So I believe they were all in all four failed sneaks. Is that right? Or at least four sneaks that happened.
I can remember
Um,
three at the moment, but yeah.
well, spoiler alert, that is what one segment of the film review is going to be about, the failed sneaks. So if you want to see them all, there will be an opportunity to do so.
The Chiefs, I mean,
Um,
they really defended it well, which has to be. I wonder if this is like portable to defending the tush push. I mean, probably not because it's a totally different what's going on there. But they're, I mean, Josh Allen had been good all year at these things, right? I mean, he's always good at these because he's so big and strong, and to stop him so many times in these kind of situations is pretty impressive.
well, one thing that they seem to really be keying on, and apparently they had told Nance and Romo in the pre-production meeting, was that he seemed to go over the left-sided B gap every single time. And so they were certainly ready for that. And I haven't like really studied the film, but I've flipped through the sneaks a couple times, and it seems like the Chiefs, what they were doing was they were like sitting people initially in the A and B gap on that side. So between the center and the guard, and then between the guard and the tackle, and having them go really low to bring the lineman down. And then they brought people over the top to like Justin on the key. I think the 2 point conversion when Justin Reed came in, then Nick Bolton came in, Jaden Hicks came in to like get him high once
Mhm.
they had like taken the lineman out below. So it was like and then Chris Jones and guys from the other side would, instead of just pushing straight forward, they were coming across. And like Chris Jones on one of the sneaks, I don't remember which one, actually grabbed Allen around the waist from behind, coming from the other side. So they were kind of converging on that spot from everywhere, which I thought was really interestingly done because they weren't just selling out at that area. They were kind of covering their bases, but then very quickly, attacking that point when the ball was snapped and they realized the sneak was certainly happening.
Yeah, yeah. So it's a like you wonder if the Bills had noticed this, whether they would have tried to sneak him to the other side or something like that. But it sounds like I don't know. Maybe the Chiefs had their bases covered there.
Yeah, the only sneak that didn't follow that pattern was the jump over the top where he fumbled, and I wonder if they got spooked on that one and were like, no, no, we're gonna go back to doing what we did. And honestly, that fourth down that they didn't convert was like as short of a fourth down as you could possibly have. It was like fourth and half a yard maybe. So maybe they were just like, we'll get this one.
Yeah, but like that turned the game at that point, right? Because they were in field goal range, I think.
They were close. They were at our 41-yard line, I think.
Okay, not that. Okay, I thought they were like inside the 30. Um, but yeah, you know, it was they had control kind of. That was a huge stop, I think.
Yeah, that was definitely what changed the game, and that's another one that people have varying opinions watching the replay. I certainly felt like watching it live, it felt like he got it.
Oh, really?
Um, but
I don't
now
think I
when
had a
I like,
strong opinion one way or the other.
well, it just seemed like so short to go. It just
Oh, yeah.
it just felt like he went forward, and but then when I see the replays, like it's actually not clear to me that he did. Like I don't know that I would certainly say he did not, but it's pretty ambiguous to me on the replay. And we know his ball hand was in the back. The ball was in the back hand when he was
Mhm.
leaning toward his left. So I think it's certainly possible that he didn't get it. And you definitely can't overturn from replay. And I don't know. The people that kind of say it obviously either way, it's hard for me. Like if I were to lean one way, I would lean that he didn't get it, but I know watching it live, I was just like, oh crap, I don't want to see this replay.
Yeah, yeah. Um, but but yeah. What I mean, are there other things? I feel like there are other things in this game that I thought we had to talk about. I mean, the you know they had some heroics like the like the touchdown pass from Allen to what is it, Hollins right before half. Like that was nice. But the pass interference call there I thought was kind of bogus, right? Like there was
Yeah. For the Chiefs get all the calls, people. Like I
yeah,
couldn't believe he threw that flag. I was like, that seemed like great coverage from
yeah.
McDuffie. It was just a great throw. I couldn't believe they threw a flag on that one.
Yeah, like that would have been a big one to complain about had he not caught that because then they would have got the ball like the one there. Right? So,
Yeah. But I don't see any world in which that was a penalty. Especially like the only thing I thought could have possibly been the case, like for like this is a play that's going down the numbers on the left side, and the ball is kind of thrown over the top from the right. And so McDuffie's like reaching over with his right hand, and the official's standing under the goalpost. So that's the vantage point he's seeing from. The only thing that I could have thought was PI was that I was thinking if the sideline guy had thrown a flag, like maybe McDuffie wrapped him with his left hand. I'm not sure that he did, but that was the only thing that definitely on the side that official saw. I couldn't see anything that was
he
pass interference.
launched it in there with gusto. He was like,
Yeah,
yeah,
he
that's
chucked that flag. Yeah.
yeah.
I was like, what is he looking at? And then we watched the replay a couple times I was like, I have no idea what they were calling there.
Yeah. Yeah. But that was one of those plays where I felt like the Bills are like they're staying in this because of these kinds of plays.
Clutch.
Yeah.
And that really reminded me actually, Josh Allen did this. We played them at home in 2022. And I want to say they beat us like 24-20 or something, or maybe 20-17. It was something like that. And right before half, we had really been like flummoxing Josh Allen the first half. He couldn't figure it out. And we had been blitzing him. And then we ran a blitz like this, and he beat our corner down the sideline with a pass like that for a
Mhm.
touchdown. And this was giving me flashbacks to that. I was like, oh man, he got us again.
Yeah. I mean, he is really good, and
Yeah.
you have to give him credit. Like if Mahomes weren't if Mahomes didn't exist, I think Allen would have multiple Super Bowl appearances by now and probably multiple wins too. But Mahomes exists, right?
I mean,
But
it's
we can't not talk about the fourth down, the last fourth down play with the heavy blitz that caught them completely off guard.
Oh, yeah, that was amazing. And that another one that like people have lots of things to say about that play. I because the thing is like the Bills ran a good play, just not a good play for that blitz.
Mm,
Spagnuolo got the corner, McDuffie off just free. And that's one thing I will say is that with Spags, like if you are gonna have condensed sets where your receivers come in, you got to be ready because he just loves to blitz defensive backs. Once you've shortened the distance between his defensive back and the quarterback, he loves to send them. And for whatever reason, there was something about the Chiefs setup that got Allen to slide the protection left, which is exactly what Spags wanted. And he blitzed from the offense's right. He got McDuffie in, and then who was the other one? Justin Reed. I don't even remember.
I don't know. Two people
What's
came free like immediately, right? Yeah.
immediately. And it's tough because in order to get that blitz, he left Khalil Shakir, who was running an orbit motion in the background, completely uncovered, and Dalton
To the
Kincaid
left,
got
right?
dropped
To the
to
offensive
the
left.
left. Yeah. So, like an argument that was being made most prominently by Ben Solak from the Ringer was that if he just dumps that pass to Shakir immediately after the snap, like that's a huge gain. Um, not I don't know that I would give that critique to Josh Allen because like he's got people in his face immediately, and his instinct to evade the blitzers is to move right, which then kind of makes it impossible to throw to
How are you
Shakir.
gonna make that throw moving to the right? Yeah.
And also, like if he had like immediately thrown it, like there were defenders there still. Like part of the reason why that route comes open is because the defenders move with receivers up the field. But if you just dump it off at the snap, like those defenders are still in position where they could potentially rally and make the tackle.
I mean, was it a zone behind the blitz?
Yeah, it was a
So
zone behind
they
the
would have
blitz.
been, they would have seen it,
Yeah.
right?
And Kincaid being dropped, I've seen the film like a couple of times. I haven't completely formulated an opinion. Actually, it wasn't Justin Reed on the blitz because Justin Reed is the one who I think maybe should have carried Kincaid. Um, it's tough to say. Like, so what it looks like is whoever's on the left of the Chiefs formation from their perspective, sometimes defenses when they run these like man match concepts, what they'll tell the corner on the outside is like man if the guy goes outside or what's the other it goes outside or down the field. So they call it mod, MOD. And so the time that you don't play man is if the guy cuts in. You pass that off. And so the corners guy cuts in. So then you figure he probably should have had to drop back and would have been somewhere around where Kincaid was coming across the field on that like deep kind of more post looking route. But the corner instead passes off the guy underneath and kind of sits shallow. And Justin Reed next to him also sits shallow. It's like somebody's got to go back because Kincaid like comes across the field and there's no deep guy on that side of the field. So you would imagine the actual deep responsibility is probably Reed's, but usually if you're a corner and you're passing a guy off inside, then you're dropping back to, So I don't know. I'll look at it a couple times and come up with an opinion and say that opinion on the film review. I'm not 100% sure now who was supposed to be there.
But that is a play that's gonna, that bears, I think, looking at. That's a play to relive a couple times in one's life. But I do want to say, I feel like after, once the ball was snapped, right? Like, right, maybe you can blame Josh Allen for shifting the line protection the wrong way pre-snap. But like once the ball was snapped, he did about as good a job as you could do in his situation. I felt like getting out, not getting sacked and just launching it up to a point where like Kincaid really could have made that catch. Probably should have made that catch. So like Allen did like I don't know, as like a last gasp of the season, I think like that's pretty awesome as a play, right? Like obviously he's regretting all sorts of things about it, but that's an awesome player making an awesome play. Right?
Yeah, it's very hard to do any better, and I don't know, like, are there two other quarterbacks that could do that? Like, I will obviously believe in Mahomes that he could do that, but like that might be it. Like, if Mahomes and Allen.
Yeah, I think. I mean, like you might think Jackson could get out of that in a different way.
He might have been, scramble out of it. Yeah, maybe. Yeah,
but you might not call that blitz against him in that situation.
But I simultaneously think that was about as great of a throw as you can make in that situation, and I get annoyed when people are just like Kincaid dropped it because it's like it's also like very hard to be running in one direction, stop, try to plant and dive. And he didn't get two hands on it. Like the ball actually hit like the crook of his right hand, which was his backhand as he was diving. So like he didn't quite gauge it correctly to get his hands. Like it's not like it hit him in the hands that he dropped it. So it was an amazing throw and a very difficult play for Dalton Kincaid. And it's like, it's Josh Allen did as well as he could have, and it was a really tough spot to put anybody in,
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, maybe I was overzealous when I said he should have caught it, but like it was there to be caught, right? One could
He
have.
certainly could have. Like, he certainly could have, which is incredible to say based on if you take a snapshot of the free rushers coming in and Josh Allen standing there, like the fact that he threw a pass that was catchable 30 yards down the field is pretty crazy.
Yeah. Well, anything else we need to comment on from the game? I feel like we hit maybe the highlights that I was thinking we had to hit, but you might have a better memory.
Well, I just like overall want to talk about Mahomes and Reed because the Chiefs' offense was a machine in this game. And they started out by just running RPOs to death on the first drive. They got like Hollywood Brown a couple times. They got Juju on a big RPO. Yeah. And then a couple of the plays they drew up against man were so effective. One, like on the last touchdown drive, the fact that they had like a 29-yard pass to Juju where like the whole play, like the entire play is set up that they have like three on the left, Juju's ISO'd on the right. Mahomes is looking the safety off to the left. So the whole play is basically like God, I hope you get open, Juju, because I'm gonna flip my eyes to you and just throw it to you immediately, and that's what he did. Like
Yeah.
at this stage of his Chiefs career and NFL career, Juju Smith-Schuster is the guy that they're trusting in that spot to make that play, is awesome.
But
And he got open.
yeah, he got open and turned it into a big gain, right? I mean, like that is I mean, you've been saying it all year, right? But this is the Chiefs' offense in the playoffs, right? They save for it, and then when it matters most, they have way more than you're used to seeing from them, right? And so they pull out all the stops, and you can't, you know, you just I don't know how you stop it, right? Because
Yep.
you don't have film on it.
And that's Greg Rousseau, the Bills defensive end, literally said as much. He was like, they ran plays there that we didn't see at all in our film study. It's like we never see them do that before, and we weren't prepared for it. And it's like this is what we've been saying all year. Like all year, when even when the Chiefs played the Bills, we were like, they are. Nobody's saying they're not trying in the regular season, but they are setting things up and keeping things in the bag for the games that matter because they want to have these plays at the right time. And they think, rightfully so, that they can win a lot of games without them in the regular season. And they're willing to risk, a coin flip game in the regular season to win the coin flip game by having the kind of extra ammunition in the playoffs. And that's what they did, I mean, the Mahomes touchdown run, like I've never seen them do anything like that. It was like a read option counter play. So, funnily enough, Kareem Hunt's first touchdown, or his only touchdown, but the Chiefs' first touchdown of the game, and Mahomes' second touchdown run were the exact same play. It's just that Mahomes handed to Hunt on the first one and he kept it on the second one. The same concept though, and then the second go around they had Kelsey and Gray lead Mahomes, but we'll do that in the film breakdown. But it's just crazy. It's so cool, like the things that they do and the ways that they attack these defenses and the ways they kind of progressively try to set things up. And then the icing on the cake, it's the play that if you've been watching the film review this year, we've talked about it like a million times. That pass to P. Ryan, like I've done, if those of you want to go back to the Carolina Panthers film review, I went through like that play over the years. I showed an example of McKinnon doing it a couple years ago, them doing it to a wide receiver, AJ Jenkins back in 2013. Like this is Andy Reid's play. And I love that we've been talking about it all year, and that's the play that clinched the AFC title game. Like he always goes back to it. Against man, he runs receivers across the formation and then leaks the back out the other way and gets his defender in traffic. He does it again and again and again, and he did it in the biggest spot in this game.
Did you expect that at that point in the game?
No, I was way too nervous for my brain to be working, so I was not thinking about it at all.
But as soon as it happened, you were probably like, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, oh man. I even tried to like explain it to my wife, and she was like, I don't care.
That's fair. Yeah, well, now they got 2 more weeks to go deeper into their bag, I guess, against the Eagles, which, it should be a fun game. I gotta think that the Chiefs are gonna be favored in it. Maybe they probably already are favored in it, right?
Yeah, I think it's like a point and a half they're favored by. Yeah.
I might think that's not generous enough, but I mean, the Eagles are a good team, and you could see them controlling the line of scrimmage or something like that. So it should be interesting. But I guess we'll talk more about that game next week. Do you want to wrap up here? I mean, I guess we're going to mention the Pro Bowl games briefly, but I don't know how much there is to say about that. Here,
Yeah.
I have a
Oh, yeah.
quick
Go ahead.
pitch on that, which is just that I think this would be more interesting if they had them do things that were totally non-football related. So I think they should have them do like curling and maybe like synchronized diving or something like tasks that would be
They,
fun to watch them do, right? Because like, look, you're used to them being really good. I think I would
something
like
they're
to,
really bad at.
yeah, exactly, right. Like have them competitive sailing or something like that, right?
That's a good idea. They do play dodgeball, but that kind of
Yeah,
uses the same skill set. But
yeah,
yeah, that would be funny. Like have them, yeah, swim. It's like that show that came out when we were in college, Shaq Versus, where he tried to compete against other athletes at their sports.
Yeah.
Um, it
Yeah.
wasn't as exciting as the title. Like I thought the concept would be fun, and it was not that fun. But
Yeah. So
he
maybe
did
this
play
is why
football against Ben Roethlisberger, though.
I kind of remember that. Yeah. I thought I remembered Ben playing basketball against Shaq. Maybe that also happened. But anyway, okay. Well,
The only thing I will say is that, and this is engagement farming, I agree. But I will just say that speaking of the Pro Bowl, Patrick Mahomes, Pro Bowl alternate quarterback, going to the Super Bowl. So I'm guessing they just knew he wasn't going to be able to be in the Pro Bowl. So what's the point in selecting him for the Pro Bowl? You know?
yeah, yeah, that's exactly right.
But on a serious note, I have to say, I do believe that Burrow, Jackson, and Allen were more deserving this year. Like, it's fun to have a controversy, but I like when people are like, "Oh, Mahomes got snubbed." I was like, "Yeah, but like, I think he's better than all of them, but I don't know that I can objectively argue that he had a better season in the way that the Pro Bowl measures. So I don't really have a problem with him being the alternate."
Yeah, I just have to lament the fact that two of those three are in the AFC North, and they're not the Steelers. Anyway, good. Well, we'll talk next week about the Super Bowl and maybe revisit our
Recap the Pro Bowl. Yeah, let's do it.
recap the Pro Bowl. Good.
Well, let me shout out our social media at SDCF715 on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram. Thanks to all of you. Film review should come out by tomorrow morning, hopefully, knock on wood. It's going to be a really long one, so maybe it'll just be parts of it will come out tomorrow morning and the rest of it some later time.
All right.
Until next time.